Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you've gotten your third or fourth cup of coffee and had some lunch. Welcome to the R.I.S.E Women's Leadership Conference, the Entrepreneurship panel discussion. I am honored to be moderating this particular topic of entrepreneurship because I was raised by two immigrant parents that showed me the meaning of hard work, and they became entrepreneurs out of necessity. So my name is Ting Barnard, and I'm joined with Molly Chan, the CEO of Alliance Payment Solutions, Kim Anderson, the CEO of Plant City, and R.I.S.E Madhu, CEO of Rebrand. And this morning we covered a lot of topics, and I kind of want to just dive into the questions right now. But we always start off with, what is your 30-second elevator pitch? Like every entrepreneur has that, right? So what is yours? Molly?
Hi, I'm Molly Chan. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I own Alliance Payment Solutions and Remittance Processing Services. We are people outsource their receivables to us. So we're remittance processing companies. We help our clients, we meet our goals when we help our clients meet their goals. And we're in business to make people more time and money efficient.
Thank you. R.I.S.E? Oops, you're on mute. You're still on mute.
Good now?
Yes.
Thank you. After years of working in architecture and going in and out of entrepreneurship, I've been running Rebrand and the Rebrand 100 Global Awards for the past 15 years. And what we do is we assess, we review the effectiveness of brand transformations from either a tiny little company, nonprofit, all the way to global brands.
Great, thank you. Kim?
Hi, Kim Anderson. Honored to be with you again this afternoon. My family has a fund called Everhope Capital where we invest against climate crisis. And when we learned that when you factor in all externalities of an animal-based food system, the contribution is significant at 51% of global climate crisis. So we felt that, that the very best way to help fight that was to show people that they can eat sustainably and compassionately. And Plant City is the world's first plant-based food hall, the world's largest vegan restaurant. I have 138 employees there, and I firmly believe that when you scale a mission-based business, you can make a change in an important global issue.
Thank you so much. I got so excited I forgot to introduce myself. So I'm the CEO and founder of Ting Barnard Studio. It's really a marketing firm, but I represent local nonprofits and missions that I really believe in. And I shine a light on individuals, businesses, and ideas, people that are doing great things in Rhode Island. And I moved back to Rhode Island in 2009 because I saw the potential in, what a dreamer could be, like what a dreamer could have. And Rhode Island has all the potential in the world. And I'm so grateful to be sitting here with you panelists and learning more about what you do. So thank you. I'm going to dive into the first question. I mentioned this earlier that my parents became entrepreneurs out of necessity. They had to raise 4 children, so in their minivan, they're making jewelry pieces and dropping us off at the library or soccer practices and, theater. What was your motivation and what was that catalyst that sparked you to create your own business? And why are you an entrepreneur?
Well, for me, I, like your parents, became an entrepreneur out of necessity as well. I actually am a lawyer by trade, and I worked for a large Michigan firm as a litigator, and loved it, loved my job. However, when I was blessed to have children, being a litigator, your hours are tricky because you go by the book. And so I was a little bit of a hot mess when it came to billable hours and children. And so caring for kids. So I decided, we made the choice, my family and I, that I would quit working with the firm, but I still wanted to, work and make money, and keep growing myself. So I decided to start my own law firm, And so how that catapulted was I really just wanted to own my own time. And so, I still wanted to work and feel the value there, and be able to stay home and take care of my kids. And I was able to blend it all together with starting my own law firm, which ultimately allowed me to own my own time, which is the reason why I became an entrepreneur.
That's great. Thank you. And Azzy?
For me, it was asking a lot of questions, knowing that brands are big business. They mean business. It's much more than marketing and logos and colors, as we talked before. And so to do that, didn't make sense to me that having the architecture background, that you just didn't talk about architects and the physical experience, the built-in experience when you're talking about brands. And so I wanted to make sure that more people were at the table, because this is serious business. It's really the core driver of who you are and so much more, and why you exist and what your purpose is and experiences, digital, physical, whatever it is. So I wanted to make sure that that's represented, and then convened a multidisciplinary panel of jurists from around the world to make sure that we view this, showcase what the results are, and then create this repository really for the public to learn from.
Great. Thank you. Kim?
So I grew up with my father as an entrepreneur. He'd actually was an orphan, and watched him go from nothing to building a very successful business, and always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. This is my fourth business. I had one in my 20s, 30s, 40s, and this is my 50s, fourth act. And each one was to answer a need at the time. And the second one was when my kids were little. I wanted to do something that I could do part-time, and that was a home store. My third one was when my daughter created a line of organic and natural household cleaning products, which we felt was an important way to show the world about the chemicals that are in products and how dangerous they are for humans and the environment. And this fourth one is Plant City, which is, again, to be a climate crisis preventer, or at least to show people that we can eat sustainably for the world. So I've always known I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but if you sit long enough and you find a problem, the solution can often present itself as a business.
Oh, that's great. A lot of problem solving, right? I think we mentioned this earlier, but being an entrepreneur, no 2 days look the same. You've got good days, you've got bad days, you've got so-so days. I'd kind of like to learn from you all, what does a good day look like? And what does a bad day look like? I mean, it's a lot of pressure owning your own business. So what does a good day look like? Or you can answer both, or you can answer one, but what does a good day and what does a bad day look like for you?
That's a great question. I think a good day and a bad day can both look the same depending on your attitude. I think first and foremost is that your attitude is going to drive it. And I think as an entrepreneur, especially for me, I say, life is supposed to be fun. Life is hard, but it's supposed to be fun. And so, like yesterday, for example, I was telling these ladies that I had a really bad day yesterday. It just was one of those no good type of days. And really the difference between yesterday and today is my attitude and what, I can control. And that's one of the best lessons that I've learned as an entrepreneur is you control what you can control. And so really for me, that's a big difference is your attitude and how you look at it. Yesterday, I looked at everything as a problem. Today, I look at everything as something for me to solve. So just that little switch, is just huge. But a really bad day for me is going to be poor client service. We are very client service focused. And so when I have clients that are experiencing problems or, which is going to happen, but when it's something that we could have controlled and didn't, then that's a bad day for me. Success isn't always about money. especially in this business. Success doesn't always come, from how much money you make, but how, what, like Kim said, the change that you can make, the impact that you leave on people, that's like true success. So for me, a good day and a bad day really doesn't have to do anything about money. It's going to be more me, my attitude that I bring to the table. And secondly, the experience that my clients are receiving.
That's great. And Izzy?
Good day for me is when I can get a small little company or nonprofit with very little money to understand that they can use some of the tips and tricks that the global brands use, the global business use. I mean, the process is the same, right? And they can use it effectively. It's just that you can scale, and not to remember that big companies have bigger problems, but they still have problems, and that you can be small and do good things, right? And make big waves in your own way. But most of all, to use the same tips and tricks and the tools that they can apply at your scale to succeed. And I get to do that once in a while when it's a small little company that really has no budget. You don't need a lot of money to position your brand strongly to be competitive in the marketplace. So that's a good day.
That's good advice. Kim?
So good days, they're all good days. There may be bad things that happen and I can compartmentalize those and solve them, but just consider myself incredibly blessed to have the opportunity to have this business and have an amazing team of people working with me. That said, when you have 135 plus employees, if the brand, as we're mentioning here, is so important, and the mission doesn't survive without the brand. So if something breaks in the operational excellence, somebody's not happy with their service, somebody's not happy with the food, somebody's unhappy with something, that hurts. That really hurts. And then we have to double back and figure out, how did it happen? How can we solve it? How can we regain the trust of the person that we lost? And then how can we make sure it never happens again? Those make it hurtful days, and sometimes those are sad, but when you solve it and it doesn't happen again, then another great day. And then when somebody comes up to me and says, I really wanted to go plant-based for my health. I really want to do it for social justice reasons. I really want to do it for the animals, but I thought that I couldn't. I didn't realize, I thought I would have to eat lettuce and tofu for the rest of my life, but you showed me that I don't have to. And now I'm plant-based. I mean, like things like that, those are great days. So, yeah.
I want to go back to, so Kim, you just mentioned you have 135 plus employees. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're managing people. It could be one person, two people, 138, 5,000 people. What is your management style? And how has that made you successful?
It's a really good question. I am very hands-on because I want to get my hands dirty. I want to see I want to see what's involved in the work. I want to know how it happens, and I want to live it and breathe it. And I want, when we're busy, for instance, at lunch at our makeout counter, where we do these buildables that are really incredible. Before COVID, there was, 500 people that would come through there from 11 and 1, and it was all hands on deck. And that means I would jump on the line, and some of the new people would be like, what is she doing over here? But if you get your hands dirty and you really do the work, then you know what the job entails. You can help train people, you can help manage. I'm not always hands-on, but I really try to be, because I want my staff to know that I'm willing to do the hard work.
Right.
And I want that team to have faith that I'll be there if they need extra hands. They've seen me bussing tables. They've seen me at the host stand. They've seen me grab an order and drive it out to Cranston for a delivery. That goes a long way. And then, just driving the overall vision from the top. You have to step back from that and be, kind of like the puppeteer of, what do we do here? What do we do here? And not lose sight of the problem solving, even though you've got your hands down in the trenches. So, Molly pointed it out earlier, and I agree. It's a gas, brakes, it's a little bit of both.
It also sounds like a lot of delegation.
Absolutely.
Especially owning a business, you're not going to be able to do everything because you can't. There's not enough hours in the day. You don't have enough hands. So
I'm very lucky. I have an executive chef, and I have an executive sous chef, and they run the back. And then I have up front 5 managers and a bar manager and a purchasing manager and a PR team of 3 that do all our social media, because it's very hard just even keeping track of posts 24 hours a day. And so, yeah, we train them and let them run their thing, and they're a really great team. So I've been very lucky.
What
Thank
I
you
think
so
is
much.
really important that Kim said, for anyone who's interested in starting your business or may just be starting a business, and mine's a little bit, I'm on a less of a scale. We have 30 some employees, but it's the same in that when you own a business, you do want to get in there. I know how to run every machine in my company. I know every procedure, that the employees go through. So, I know what the job entails. And so Kim can jump in and she does that because it also unifies, you with your employees and everything. But I think the biggest takeaway is that she doesn't have to do that. We know our management styles, we know how we operate, and we let our team do it. And if you have to be there to run every single facet of your business, then you don't own the business owns you. And that is what you do not want, because then it becomes more like a job.
Right.
And I don't mean that facetiously, but I do. And that, you don't want your business to own you, you want to own the business. So identify what your management style is and then perfect that. And, for mine, for example, is I'm not a micromanager. And so I have to hire people in my leadership team that do not need to be micromanaged. Otherwise, we would fail. We wouldn't be able to work together. So, I am a delegator, and then I know how to hold people accountable. I had to learn that muscle and how to hold people accountable. But, that's my management style. So I compensate on your leadership team or your management positions with, you need to hire people that contemplate your style.
That seems like an ongoing thing, though. It seems like you've created this culture and you trust your employees to carry the mission forward. But that's years and years of building that relationship.
Right. And you really need to get your employees and your team to buy into you and your vision. So, a lot of people nowadays aren't just looking for a paycheck. If people leave a job nowadays, I think the studies show it's not because of money. Really, it's because they don't buy into the company or to the management style.
Or they don't believe in it. They don't believe in the mission.
Exactly.
And easy. Thank you, Molly.
Well, I represent really the micro business size, because I mentioned in the morning that most businesses are 1 to 5 people in just about every industry, especially architecture and brand and marketing and all that. So it depends on someone's goals, right? Some people want to stay as sole proprietors, and that's fine. You are correct, Molly, that you can end up really having the business own you, right? You can be, instead of working on your business, you could be constantly working in it. Or, right, you could stay as an individual or a sole proprietor, whatever it is, especially if you're just getting started, and you can use virtual assistants. You can form your own consortium of different skill sets that you don't have. So that, and people you can trust to be more efficient, to do what you need done. And that's how we're structured. We're, as I mentioned earlier, we're a single member LLC, and we can dial up and dial down as needed, but we keep it small. And it's rare that we're beyond 5 people with the consortium and maybe 1 person that I may take on at a time, depending on what we're doing. But you can do that. I mean, that the great thing is that I'm sure a lot of people that are with us today are tiny, right? Or maybe working within a company and don't know if they'll ever, or trying to see how to start something. You can start small. And luckily, with the digital tools we have, you can make a lot of headway these days. I mean,
Well, look at us today. We're all connected virtually.
Exactly, today. I mean, you're running a restaurant, that's more of a challenge, and probably Molly with your business, but
Right.
there are many businesses that are digitally based. And ours used to be, we used to physically fly everybody from around the world to Providence, Rhode Island to review the effective brand strategies. And we stopped doing that about 5 years ago. So it's all digital now, right? So you really can go far, but at the core, you can coordinate skill sets that aren't you, but aren't necessarily employed by you.
I love that. Let's dive into that. Skill sets. What are some non-negotiable skill sets when you're looking to hire someone? What are those skill sets that you're looking for that you either have or that you lack?
For me in particular, it's someone has to be pretty confident and cannot be a yes person, because that doesn't help. Really, you do want someone who can challenge you and ask you hard questions, because you can go down a path, and a yes person is really, is not strong to counter you, and you could go the wrong way. You could end up in going the wrong direction. So for me, it's confidence for whatever the skill set is, confidence and authoritative enough person to say, hey, what you're doing is not good.
What about you, Kim? What are you looking for when you're hiring?
I really do try to hire people that are mission aligned with us, because that buy-in of what we're doing goes a long way, and it really builds the culture of our group. That it is not a predetermined need to be plant-based, but a lot of people do come to us because they are. The ones that have come to us because they wanted the job and wanted an opportunity, a lot of them have become plant-based because of the people that they're surrounded with and the information that they're learning. If anybody wants to learn more, watch the movie The Game Changers. And I usually have my employees watch that before they start with us, so they can understand, if they're not, at least why we're doing this. I really need people who are bright and who are experienced and who have a proven track record of experience at some level, whether it's back of house or front of house in the restaurant industry. Then I need people who can think fast and move fast and problem solve, because we have a crazy environment at Plant City. There's not a lot of time to stop and try to figure it all out. We really do move on the fly. It's good and bad, right? It means we've been successful, but it's also a challenge. And I just need to know that the people that we bring on board are going to be able to meet that challenge. And then integrity. Integrity is the most important thing. And people who are good with people. We've all gone to a counter in a restaurant and not been happy with the way we've been treated. If I'm trying to show the world that how we want to eat sustainably, I have to do it better than everybody else. We have to do it better. So in order to maintain that brand, they need to be trained, and they need to have that personality that really wants to serve people and make it a great experience, and own that. Like that's one thing you can't teach someone. There's a lot of things I can teach them, but integrity and care for the customer, they need to have that baked in.
That's great. That's very helpful. Molly?
So we have many different levels of positions in my companies, and everything from top level leadership all the way down to entry level. So we look for different things depending on the position that we're hiring for. We're not concerned so much about quantity of experience as we are quality. We're quality over quantity. But each position, we have the same thing. We have a rule. We have certain questions we ask, regardless of the position. And each question really goes to, does this person have a passion outside of this work? Outside of work. Like for example, we always ask if they have hobbies. Because what we found is if you don't have a hobby, that person really is not self-motivated or growth-oriented. That's just been our experience.
So let's talk about that. Do you think, and we've talked about this, do you think everyone should be an entrepreneur? Can everyone be an entrepreneur? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that everyone could be an entrepreneur if they wanted to. But should everyone be an entrepreneur? No, I don't think, I don't think it's for everyone. I think you need to have certain internal characteristics, or
Mhm.
characteristics of yourself in order to be a fulfilled entrepreneur, in order to love what you do. So, but it goes both ways. Like I am a visionary. So, that would tend to make for a good entrepreneur. Um, but I'm going to be honest with you, and my team will tell you this. I'm I'm really bad at numbers. Numbers are not my thing, and so do you need to be a great number person to be an entrepreneur? No. But you need to be able to surround yourself with people way smarter than you and treat them well. And I really think that's one of the keys, is that if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to go introspective and you know your strengths, and you play those strengths and you compensate your weaknesses. And so that's what I did. And I think that's really helped me be successful.
Great. Thank you, Molly. We talked about this earlier, mentorship and entrepreneurship. Being an entrepreneur, you can be kind of lonely. It sounds like a solo kind of venture that you're going on, but it really isn't. What mentors have you had along the way, and what have you learned about yourself? Because as your businesses continue to evolve, I mean, some of you have 2, 3 businesses. What have you learned, and how has that evolved through the years for you?
Well, I am a huge proponent of mentors. I huge proponent. And so I believe you surround yourself with people who are better than you. And I also believe that you should never be the smartest person in the room. So, I have, I fail all the time, and I pick myself up, I learn, and I move on. But there have been some divots that I was able to avoid because of mentors, because I was able to go to mentors and say, this is what I'm facing, how can you help me? Don't reinvent the wheel. Reach out to mentors and find these people, and they will help you.
What about you, Anisi?
I'd say Molly said it all. For my company, I have an advisory board, and I can tap into them, sometimes individually, sometimes as a small group. So absolutely, people that have done it. And I was mentioning earlier, it doesn't have to be somebody in your industry space. Sometimes it's better not to have that, so that you can have a fresh perspective. Yeah, because we certainly all have blind spots in what we're doing.
Absolutely. Kim?
Can't agree more than to have good mentors and advisors when you're starting anything in and outside of your field. People that you trust and people that are going to challenge you and help you do some of the risk reward type analysis. I'm a board member at Social Enterprise Greenhouse in Providence, which is a ecosystem and a socially responsible entrepreneurship accelerator program. Highly recommend doing something like that or reaching out to these folks, because I do think that all entrepreneurs should be social entrepreneurs, which means you have a mission or something important baked into who you are and what you do. The secret sauce of Social Enterprise Greenhouse is having these 200-300 experienced folks in the community who are willing and wanting to share with you their expertise in IP, in law, in merchandising, in business plans, in finance, in everything that you could possibly imagine to slingshot you to your best chance to success. And a lot of those people that you make friends with will hang around with you for your journey and be there when you need them. I'm also very lucky that I mentor a lot of young women and other young people in business. And some of them have turned out to be my best mentors. I mentioned this morning a young woman named Audrey, who used to work with us, who owns Nitro Cart with her boyfriend, which is a tremendously successful, phenomenal Nitro coffee business. And I'll often reach out to her. She's in her mid-20s. She's the age of my children, but I often reach out to her for advice on social media, or what did this happen with you for when we started takeout during COVID? How did that happen? And how did your numbers go? And so, having people in your industry as well as outside your industry and with certain sector experience is a must, no matter how experienced you are or long in the tooth you are at doing this.
That's great. I actually have my mentor with me here today, Manal Jakar. So she graduated from CLRI in 2019. And when I hired her on, she was like, I have so much to learn from you. I'm like, girl, I'm learning so much from you. I need you by my side. And so I actually invited her here today because I feel like she has a lot to offer as well and a lot to share. And so just having her company by my side, like, I need you. You know, it's kind of funny that she's like, I need you. So mentorship is definitely a two-way street. So thank you for that. How do you define success? Because I feel like you are all so successful on paper and you're brilliant and amazing. How do you define success? What does that look like for you as an entrepreneur?
For me, it wasn't money. Money didn't drive it, not because
Yeah.
money's not important, but it was just experimental, really, to see could I, with my little team, pull this off, right? And when we started in 2005, in daring to go global from the start, the way we're structured is we have a panel of 10 jurors, and each round changes from around the world. We were determined in 2004, 5 men, 5 women, different ethnicities, different countries, and different industries. And I wanted it to be people that are respected from around the world. And so what I was saying in the last session is that, don't be scared to reach out to your dream people that you would want on a jury panel, for example. So that's we were able to do that, and it's taken hold. So if you actually Google the word rebrand, we're literally #1 out of many millions. And just to know, could we do it? Could I make it happen? And 15 years later, it has taken hold, right? It is the go-to platform. People can go freely, see lots of examples in many industries, from restaurants to service organizations, see before and after, and to see the challenges that big, small nonprofits are addressing, right? Because if something's chasing everybody, everybody's in a state of evolution. COVID just put it on steroids, but everybody's always shifting. So that for me is success. The monetary aspects, we're getting better at it, at the monetization with what we've built. So I wouldn't say that we're great at it, but we're getting better.
So for me, it's always been impact. I'm very lucky to be in a position that I did not do Plant City for personal financial gain. I did it to scale impact. And when you look at the 18, 19 months that we've been in business, 8 of which of them, or 9 of which of them have been during COVID, we look at it as it's a quantifiable impact. So we've been able to actually divert 150 tons of compost from the local landfill. We've saved 7 million pounds of grain, 3.8 million pounds of carbon, 5.6 million square feet of forest, 204 million gallons of water, and 185,000 animal lives by serving plant-based food, as opposed to a highly impactful, unsustainable food system of animal agriculture. So for me, that's amazing. What I want to do now for future success is to scale that. So we are opening up a drive-through in Middletown. And when that is successful, we'd like to use that as a template to build more. So add 10, 100 times these numbers as we're able to scale the numbers of doors that we open going forward. Fingers crossed.
Awesome.
Thanks, Kim. Molly?
Well, I wholeheartedly agree that when measuring whether or not your business is successful, well, personally, I think success comes down to, for an individual, how much you are loved and how much you love. But in a business standpoint, you could go along the same lines, but when you measure whether or not your business is successful, I don't believe it comes down to money, financial success. I do believe it comes down to impact and values and the changes that you're making, or are you making someone else's life easier for them? And if you are, then that's successful. So when we try new services with my business, we don't really pay attention at first to cost. We look at value. What's the value that we're going to give and receive on whether or not this is going to be successful with our clients. And then, obviously cost is always going to come into play. Well, for me, if you're, Jeff Bezos type of money, maybe not, but, then that will come into play. But I would never measure success, how successful you are or your company is based on financial success, on finances.
That's great.
More-
Thank
You know,
you.
I do want to point out one thing, Ting, because I agree with what Molly's saying. But in our last business, it was a direct sales business. And the one thing I kept running up, we had 21,000 consultants around the country. So think organic Avon. And I kept running up against women who were embarrassed by earning a paycheck. All right. So if you are doing good work and you earn that money, you should not be embarrassed by that. You don't need to go out and brag about it, but you should be proud of that. And it is the reward for the work. It's a tangible reward for the work, and it's not a bad thing. We do need to get women beyond being embarrassed to earn money, because let's be real, when you are successful and when you do earn money, it does earn you a seat at the table. So yes, there's all these other ways that we can gauge success, the happiness of my employees and my guests, and how much impact we can have. But financial success does allow you to do other things with it. And I would tell these women, it allows you to give back more to your community. If nothing more, if that's all you want for that paycheck, you can give back more to your community.
Well, if you can align your mission statement, your values, and your fundamental core beliefs with making amazing money, that's pretty powerful, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it can be done.
It can be done. So if someone is right now starting to think about becoming an entrepreneur, it's scary, right? Let's just be real. Because when you own your own business, you take so many risks, and especially as women, where it's very scary to take that next move or that next step. Like, who am I going to hurt along the way? Or is this the right move? Is this the right move? What advice would you give to folks that want to start a business and are afraid to take those risks?
I'd say if you have a job, you're fortunate enough to have a job now, why not stick your toes in the water, depending on the business. I'm assuming it's something small. Right? If you need to go get financing for something major, that's a different story. But if you have a job, see if you can spend some extra time, evenings, weekends, testing things. We talked about all the digital tools that are available where you can just test, in a sense, quick proof of concept, including using tools to research. I mentioned earlier, Answer the Public. It's literally answerthepublic.com. You can put anything in there and get all the searches around what people are looking for around that topic in Google. It scrapes it. It's much more than the autocorrect as you start to type things in Google. And it's extremely robust and extremely helpful, and it's free. So you can test. And in fact, I think there's some opportunities that COVID has provided, because some of us have legacy businesses that we're going to shift within, but if you haven't started yet, right, or if you started recently, just think of all the changing habits, and you can assess what changing habits will stay, which ones are permanent, which ones are temporary, and see if you can lock into one of those and just test away digitally while you still have a job, if you still have one, right? Test. And then if it doesn't work, I don't consider it failure. You might find something out of that exercise that will work for you.
So don't get discouraged, even if it doesn't work out.
No, because you'll learn something. And in fact, I mean, even if we all get through COVID, it'll prepare you for the next pandemic or the next crisis, right? Which is bound to happen eventually.
And what about you? It seems like you're opening up a new business during COVID. Talk to us. Were you scared to do that? Or was that just something that you were like, I'm just going to do it?
The goal was always to build a lot more plant cities to scale this mission and message. And we were approached by the top VC restaurant group in the world back in the fall. And they wanted to invest a lot of money and build 100 plant cities in 10 years, which is very exciting. But I'm very lucky that my husband is in VC, and we went down that path and we did our due diligence, and these in the end we decided these were not people that we wanted to be married to. And that's really important when you take money, people. You are going to be family with these people for a long time. They have to have your same level of integrity and mission and drive, because those relationships can get ugly, and you don't want to be in one of those. We decided these were not the folks that we wanted to be doing business with, but we were confident that more opportunity would come along in that vein. And that was in February. So we all know what happened in March. And we've all been pivoting. This is, part of being an entrepreneur is you wake up one day and you're going in this direction, and the next day you're going in another. And so we've done a major pivot. And that right now, the 3 most popular things in the world on trend, so be a trendsetter, right, is drive-throughs and comfort food and plant-based food. So I'm going to combine all 3 and take an entirely different direction. These are 14,000 square foot building right here behind me. And I was looking at doing one at 25,000 square feet in Boston. That'd be crazy right now. So we're actually moving into an old Papagino's between a Burger King and a Taco Bell in Middletown, and opening up a plant-based drive-through. It'll be like a vegan McDonald's, but everything's made scratch in-house, higher end than that. But it's a way to hedge against, people don't want to go inside all the time, and it's going to be cold in the winter. So how to, that's entrepreneurship, is solving for problems. How are we going to survive COVID? What are we going to do to make it so that we can keep all of these employees? And what are we going to do so we can make it so that we can keep the numbers high enough to make it keep working and be here next summer when we can have people sitting outdoors again? So
Thanks,
it's very
Kim.
exciting. And I think actually in hindsight, it's the best thing for us because they're a lot easier to run. This is a beast. This is really hard work, and these will be much simpler and easy to template and multiply.
Thanks, Kim. Molly, what about you?
I think first and foremost is I would say to someone to make sure they're rock solid on their why. Why are you doing this? Because entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. You go from king to pauper in the matter of minutes, and then back to king. So it's hard. If it were easy, everyone would do it, but it's not. It's very hard. And I believe, although Kim's absolutely right, like I'm unapologetically a profit business. I am not a nonprofit. I make money. But if money is your why, that I personally, this is my 5th company, that didn't carry me through 2 of them. So I think you need to have a deeper why. I mean, you're doing this for me. It's I wanted to stay home. I wanted to be able to stay home and to work from home and raise, be involved day to day, in my kids' life in a way that is much more difficult when you work outside of the home.
Great, thank you. Let's talk about that phrase, be a doer, not a dreamer. Can you be both? What are your thoughts about that? Be a doer, not a dreamer. So my parents came to America and they dreamed big, and they were doers, they executed. Could you be a dreamer and a doer? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
You have to be, especially when you're starting out, right? I mean, Kim and Molly talked about knowing how to do every aspect of their business, at least knowing, being hands-on. We all have to be, especially when you're tiny, you have to do both until such time as you can begin to delegate or find other resources to support you.
Great, thanks, Anise.
To me, I think what that means is that at some point you have to take action. Like you, as an entrepreneur, I make decisions very quickly. And I stand behind my decisions. I don't always make the right decision. It could be the wrong decision, but I pivot. And then I make another decision. So you can sit on your couch and you can write everything down, all your dreams. But if all you do is sit on your couch and read them, I mean, I don't know if that's how the universe responds. Like you have to take action. So at some point, you're just going to have to pull the trigger and do it. You just can't, talk about it or wish it. You actually have to get behind it and actually do it. So I think you have to do both, but at some point you got to pull the trigger.
It almost sounds like an action for you. Dream first and then do.
Well, yeah, because if all you're doing is just, dreaming about it, it's, you have to get behind it and actually, put some work behind it, some sweat equity, get it off the ground.
Thanks, Molly. Kim?
Totally agree with what both the ladies have said. Start with the dreamer, but put the shoulder behind it and be a doer. Really hard, and it's not going to be easy, and it's going to take longer than you think it's going to take. And I have a great example. I'm a judge on the Rhode Island business plan competition, and there was a young woman who came in with this great product, and I hope it's going to be successful. But she came in 2 years in a row. She had pivoted. It was a little bit different the second time. And she had won this champ contest and mass challenge, and she'd been in like 18 different competitions and won them all, but she still wasn't selling her product. So I said, do me a favor, come and put it on our shelf in our marketplace, because the customers are going to tell you really fast, is it something that they're going to buy at the price that you're going to put it at, and will they come and buy it again? And so all that dreaming and the challenges that you need to put it out there at some point and find out if you've got something. So we all believe, I think we talked earlier about failing fast,
Right.
coming up with decisions, pivoting, finding your way, because what you start with is not going to be what you end up with most of the times. I mean, look how different what I'm ending up doing, but just do it, right? And there's a couple of studies that Babson told me about, where my daughter went, that is women will wait and test the waters and put their finger up to test the wind and talk to their ex-boyfriend and their mailman and everybody about whether their business is going to be successful. You have to be the visionary, you have to be the dreamer, you have to trust yourself, and then you have to just go do it. And if it doesn't work, then, as my friend said, you've learned something for the next time.
I love that.
The dreams don't happen unless you just start doing it.
I love that. I think we used the word pivot 100 times today. 2020 has definitely taken us all for a ride. I mean, that's kind of an understatement. What are your goals for 2021? I'd love to learn from you what your goals are for 2021. No, that wasn't on the question before. So I'm putting you throwing a new question in the box right now. What are your 3 goals? Because Kim, you and I talked about this. If you can't see your goals, how are you going to attain them? How are you going to reach them? If you can't envision, if you can't see your goals, how are you supposed to go after it? There's strategy behind attaining your goals.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat myself, but the goal would be to, build 50 or 100 of these. And sometimes when you put that out there, it's very scary, because if it doesn't happen, then you look like you didn't succeed. But I'm not afraid, because I think that it will be successful, and I think that we'll be able to do this. The goal would be to build the team that can do it, because it's going to take a lot of people to go out and find the locations and do all the leases and negotiate all and do all the hiring and the training and the setup. And I mean, it's crazy what even goes into doing signs and sign permitting and all the zoning. It's a full-time job just opening up a new location. It's taken me hours, and I have 5 people working on it with me full-time. But the goal would be to do a lot more of them and to have an impact and to add zeros to those impact numbers that I shared with you before.
Well, being an entrepreneur isn't always so glamorous, right? People see the backdrop, Plant City, see people enjoying their food and just enjoying this business. But being an entrepreneur takes a lot of work and resiliency, it seems.
I would like to add that I've been working with the Met School and trying to help them go plant-based, and others, some local sports teams that I can't mention at this time, but I do love to give back to the community and show people that this is the healthiest way to eat for health and healthcare costs and for social justice reasons. I mean, the people that are forced to do this work don't choose this work. It's because they have no other choice. So for a lot of reasons, I'm trying to share with the community why we should be eating this way with a little velvet hammer, by showing that it can be delicious and fun.
That's great. Thank you.
Well, for me, I'm launching a couple other initiatives that bring all the backgrounds together, both architecture and brand space. So one is a little initiative on African architecture, right? Where there's a whole brand role there. Another is looking at the brand space as real estate, commercial real estate has to shift because all the downtown offices are getting empty and will likely stay empty. I don't know if you heard, I think Microsoft is going to let people work from home indefinitely, for example. So there are lots of implications there, reuse and what do you do with it? So that's where I'm going. And it's all around the concept I explained earlier, which is transform to thrive. That's our theme. That's our why. Looking at how do you transform to thrive, which is really an ongoing process. And under that umbrella, that gives you room to do a few different things.
I love that, Nazi. You always talk about opportunity, finding those small moments of opportunity or those little pockets, and then strategizing and putting in the work and the love and the care. I mean, entrepreneurship is not just a word, right? I mean, it's a mindset. I mean, you live and breathe your businesses, and I can feel that. Molly?
Well, for us, we actually are going to be doing goal setting. We goal set for in the last quarter. So we should be starting next month for next year. So I don't really know what our goals are yet for next year. I know that I hope it's not as hard as this year, that's for sure. And I hope I lose all the weight I gained over COVID. I know those two things for sure.
That's a great goal.
Yeah, but I think goal setting is very important. I do think though, a mentor once gave me this advice, and I'll pass it along, is don't, keep your goals in mind, but don't get bogged down by them. Be flexible, be open, be able to pivot.
We had to learn that, right, during this pandemic.
Exactly. Like the goals that we set last year, I mean, I don't even think they're even on our radar right now, so it's important to have goals and to go for them, but don't get distracted by them, because if that's all, if you're so just laser focused on that, then you may miss all this other beauty that's out there. So goals are very important, but be flexible.
Thanks, Molly. So we're at our 7-minute mark. I want you guys to share with the guests, the attendees that are listening to this right now, if there was just one piece of advice that you could offer, just one, if people are starting to think about, starting a side hustle or becoming an entrepreneur or maybe pivoting, what would that piece of advice be that you could share?
I think I said it earlier, which is you can be successful without doing something huge. Right? And you can take something pretty small, at least to start, and make much success of it. And I was explaining about the long tail concept, which is the digital age lets us have some little small idea that you might think is crazy. And we have the whole thing about how to find your zag, your own distinction. You might think it's a weird hobby or a weird interest that you can share, but the long tail comes in where you use digital tools to find your thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of an audience that could support, so that you can be very profitable. So you don't have to be profitable with some big enterprise. It can be something small that you dig deeply into. There's that. And then the other is, I was saying that everybody's scared. We're all scared all the time. But if you stay flexible and embrace your fear and realize that you're not unique in that, then it might give you courage to at least continue on and to try like the rest of us. And you might find in so doing, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
Thanks, Maisie. Kim?
Boy, it's hard to come down to one thing. I would say, the belief in yourself, and always operate with the highest level of integrity and kindness. Treat people well on the way up, because there is always a downside to that ladder. And every time I've started something different, the people who embraced my first and second business, they were there with me for my fourth and fifth. I have people who work with me now who worked with me in our last business. I have customers who have followed me through 3 and 4 of them. It's really what you have in the end is your reputation is all that really matters, that will always carry you. And then believe in yourself. And as Nike would say, just do it.
Just do it. Molly, what about you? What is that one piece of advice you could give us? I think you have.
Well, I was also going to say integrity. So I'm going to go to my next ones. I think invest in yourself and learn to communicate. So never stop growing. I read every day. I have multiple books going every single day. And not necessarily always of the Harlequin romance type, but there's great business books out there. There's great, people who have done it. Women have paved, so many women have paved the road for us. We just need to keep paving it. And so always invest in yourself. Take care of yourself, take care of your mind, take care of your body, and then learn to communicate. Sometimes as women, we may or may not have been raised that, just to possibly sit down and look pretty, or something that isn't always what we want to teach our daughters today. So learn how to communicate, so you can effectively communicate with your team and your customers and your clients, and negotiate.
I love that. So we have 2 minutes left. I'm going to share mine. So mine is from my 11-year-old daughter, who says, "Mom, you show such compassion to everybody else. Like, you're such a compassionate woman. I want you to love yourself. I want you to treat yourself the way you treat other people." And that was an aha moment for me. I went, wow, that's
11?
incredible.
Smart
11 years
girl.
old.
That's a
She
lot of
said,
work.
Very
show
well
some
done.
compassion. I think, and as women, we want to nurture, we want to help everybody, we want to save everybody. But like, why don't we focus on ourselves and show that level of compassion for ourselves? I want to thank you all. I could just sit here for hours and just talk to you, because this is just amazing. And I will definitely be connecting with you all after this. So thank you so much for a brilliant, brilliant panelist discussion. And I hope everyone has a great afternoon.
Yes, it was fun.
Thank you.
Great job.